Hi garden friends. Today we're going to take on a couple little projects. I have some seeds that I planted last fall. They're, I guess you could call them seedlings, but they're a little overgrown now to call them seedlings, but they're in small pots. I have them placed over here. I just want to plant them out in the garden so they can grow big and flourish and pump out some beautiful flowers. Okay, so first off, we are going to plant out these few salvias, and they are called a pink Sunday salvia. They have a pretty pink color. They do great in the heat. I started these from seed, and little over a year ago, I did a lot of experimenting and playing around with starting flowers, annuals, perennials from seed. I had minimal success, but this one was one that I had real success with. So I did get quite a few of these plants. I was a little surprised they seem to be annuals. Salvias for me here in Zone 10 are usually perennials coming back each year. But anyway, I had plenty of seeds. So these are certainly big enough and maybe a little on the big side to, I should have planted them out a little while ago. As you can see, they're already flowering, but I think they should do fine. And I'm going to plant them here next to the boxwood. And last session, I know we talked about garden structure and the combination I like of, well, garden design actually, but the combination of structure and, billowy, flowy flowers, mixed in between the more architectural structured shapes. And so that's what I want to have here. So the pink Sunday salvia will be placed next to the boxwood among these other plants, and it'll create a little bit of symmetry, not much, because these won't get more than probably 1.5 feet, 18 inches to 24 inches. But it will, from a color standpoint, create a bit of symmetry on either side of this trellis with the star jasmine growing on it, and those will have white flowers soon. But what I have over here is a much larger type of salvia. This is called a pink skyscraper. Now this one's vigorous. It's grown giant. It's grown to be a giant in less than a year, I think, and I want to prune it back. It's kind of taken over here. It's actually kind of hiding and obscuring this hibiscus, and anyway, I need to take care of that. But point being, we'll have some of this bright pink on either side of the arbor here. Okay, so let's see what our roots look like. In a few minutes after we finish this, the other item that I started from seeds is Verbena bonariensis. That is a beautiful plant that I love in the garden. I know they do great in England, and most of the English gardens seem to have them. And they are Verbena bonariensis. I have planted some from seed throughout the garden. I've only had probably about a tiny percentage of them come up, but the funny thing is you don't need more than a tiny percentage, because once you get a few plants going, which I do have of the bonariensis, they grow tall and they're wispy. You can see right through them, which creates a beautiful effect. So they don't take over or smother out anything else. They just create kind of a see-through whimsical kind of a pattern. They have little purple flowers on them, and they do reseed themselves quite readily, I understand. So and I've seen that already happening. This one here, you can see between the Wilma lemon cypress, little conifer here, and the Italian cypress, the taller one there. So this, I'll point to it with my shovel. This here is Verbena bonariensis that has grown quite large, and we'll see what it does. I've already seen some little bit of flowers on it, late last summer. So we'll see how it does now. But I'm gonna anyway back to the pink pink Sunday salvia. We'll put some right here. I've got several plants, so I'll find another couple spaces for them. Augie, no. Okay, in this terracotta pot, of course, I can't see the roots, and I'm a little curious. This has been growing since early last fall, so I'm not sure how much roots there are. I imagine there's some good roots because obviously we're getting some tall stalks and flowers here. But let's dig it out and see. It's hard to tell actually how many plants there are in here. I think each of these stalks is an individual one, and then it eventually, as it, as it grows, it puts out more stalks. But again, I can plant a few of them together if needed to, but let's just see how this looks. I want to do this carefully so I don't disturb the roots any more than necessary. Oh yeah, okay, this is quite permeated with roots here. I was thinking I'll probably just divide this clump, since I let it grow so long in this pot, and didn't get it planted out sooner. I'll probably just take this clump and divide it into 3. I believe it's more plants than that, but yeah. There. It's going to be a little tricky here, Maybe I'll just do it in 2, so at least I know that some of it's going to keep growing. So I'm just kind of gently slicing through the root ball because they've all grown together now, but I'm just creating 2 plants here. And this is actually a little bit of an example of how you divide a root ball when you're dividing plants. Okay, so, and like I say, I think this actually is 3 different seedlings here, but it'll give it a better chance to just keep them together. And same over here. This looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe, but I'm going to just keep these clumps together. And okay, I need a bigger hole over here, so let me do that. Okay, I've planted so much stuff in this bed, and a lot of it, hasn't done that well. Obviously, the boxwood is doing fabulously. I don't want to, interfere with the root ball there, but it's very hardy. It's got a very large, deep root ball, so no problem. Oh, and you know what? Here is another Verbena bonariensis seed that did come up. I'm remembering now. Yeah, right here. So I'm going to get one actually here, growing right next to where I'm trying to put my my pink Sunday salvia. So let's see what we can do here. And nicely, I have an irrigation system, and over the last few years, I've each plant has an individual drip. It's a drip system going to it, but in some of the areas, like especially along walkways where it's smaller space and smaller plants, I've put these other type of irrigation lines, and those are, I'm not sure what you call it, but the moisture just kind of oozes out from this squishy line, so it's not a drip emitter. It's more like you can just run it all the way along an area, like I've actually done all along this pathway here. And then these smaller plants, and even when I put seeds out, this let's just call it a moisture emitter, it keeps them moist, and they'll grow, and I don't have to be babysitting and watering seeds, every day or twice a day or that kind of a thing. So anyway, I've got some of that circling through this area because, like I say, I've tried a lot of seeds in here and stuff. So let me just get a big enough hole. Okay, I have a bucket of rich, beautiful black compost here, and that is a great thing to just throw in the hole when you're planting something. You can also mix it with other soil, native soil, enriched soil, but the compost, of course, is a wonderful fertilizer. And a tip for those of you who live in, I would say, a lot of communities, I'm not sure how broadly this is done, but I get the sense that it is fairly common, and that is the city, the community that you live in, like Chino Hills where I live, they do a 2 times a year annual giveaway. So the city, keeps all the parks clean and stuff. They collect all the, debris from the plants and whatnot. So they actually give residents of the city free compost and free mulch. They do it once in the spring and once in the fall. And oh boy, I discovered that 2 or 3 years ago, and oh, I love it. I mean, they will let you take as much as you can fit in your car. You bring your buckets, and it's the perfect dosing for my, enriching the soil of this garden, which was not very good to start with, and now I think it's quite good now. And pretty soon in the next couple weeks, I'm gonna go get a couple carloads full and get more of the compost as well as the mulch. So I'm gonna put a little of this compost in the hole, and then we'll put our little salvia in there. Okay, folks, I mentioned to you about this Verbena bonariensis. If you can see, I don't know if you can capture that, Steve, on the camera, but some of the outer older leaves are afflicted with some powdery mildew, which is a common problem in the garden. It's not super severe, but it's not good either. If it gets too out of control, it can spread, it can compromise the plant, and it certainly is unpleasant looking. And the best way, in my research and my own experience, to treat it and to even prevent it is using an organic substance called neem oil. And I buy it in a concentrated form, which is incredibly less expensive. You just mix it up and then you put it in one of those spray bottles. I get the big spray bottle because roses I've needed to treat quite a bit, and they cover a huge area. So getting the big spray bottle really helps when you're treating a large area of something like roses. But this is just a singular plant here. I'll mix up a smaller spray bottle and I'll treat that. So I did want to point that out to you. Okay, but now neem oil, I wanted to tell you, is actually from a tree called a neem tree, and I know it grows in China and I believe also India, but it feels to me like kind of a miracle substance in the garden. It takes care of diseases, pests. It's just really beneficial without having to use any, artificial bad chemical type pesticides. Okay, we have completed the planting of our 2 pink Sunday salvia, and I hope they make it. We'll see what happens. I do have my other potted one I told you about of the Verbena bonariensis, and we're about at the end of our time here, so I'll be planting this out later today, and I hope in the future I'll be able to show you all of these little seedlings grown up and producing beautiful flowers. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me today at Lisa Gardens.